One of us staying here from FightHype.com. I'm here with trainer.
He's not even messing about. He's not even messaging you. He's straight in. He ain't got time to mess about. Come on, then here we go.
I'm here with trainer Dominic Ingle. Dominic, talk to your fighter Will Hutchinson just off camera.
Have you realised he doesn't make sense? Have you realised he doesn't make sense? Don't even mention what he's mentioned, otherwise interview stops. It's a thing I like to keep a secret. So you know what, in that department. So don't listen to him. He's just getting carried away with himself.
Let's talk about your fighter. The reason why you're here at the Daniel Dubois press conference, your fighter Willie Hutchinson's fighting on the undercard.
I thought it was the Nicola Adams world title fight, and Dubois was on the undercard, and Willie Hutchinson. I thought the show was all about her.
I've always thought that it was about
Nicola.
Well, let's talk about both your fights anyway. But first of all, I want to talk about a fighter that I've known for a long time, and somebody who seems to be coming through the ranks and doing a great job is Will Hutchinson, the Scottish sensation. Talk to me about him and what you've seen from him.
You've got us on a very good day, and you're getting this first. This is a media first for Willie Hutchinson. Yeah. This is his 10th fight, and the Hutch train is coming into the station, and on Friday night he's going to win. That's going to be his 10th win. And when he leaves the station with his suitcase, he's no longer going to be called the Hutch train, he's going to be called the Hurricane. So we're going to officially change his name from Willie the Hutch Train Hutchinson to Willie the Hurricane Hutchinson. He's had 10 fights under his belt, he's moving to Sheffield, big things are happening for him. He's settling down in Sheffield, and when you see him in his 11th fight, we're going to be getting bigger steps up. We've had a look at a few opponents. We've watched the Cody Davis-Zach Chelly fight last week. It was an interesting fight. And, you know, he's done his 10-fight apprenticeship now. He wants to start stepping up through the ratings and the ranks and challenging himself. So after October, we're looking for some big fights and some big step-ups. So it's going to be very interesting.
I'll speak to Will, and obviously we know that he's signed with Frank Warren and Richard Schaefer with Ringstar. There seems to be that attraction that maybe in the future, because of that link with Ringstar, that he could actually fly out to America and have these fights in America as well. Is that something that you anticipate to happen?
Yeah, but you've missed out on the main man, and the main man is Shelley Finkel, who's managed Mike Tyson, and he also manages Deontay Wilder. And that's, you know, he's a very, very experienced man, and, you know, has brought a lot of young fighters through to the top of the game. So, yeah, you know, I think it's in his contract. He's got to have so many fights in America anyway. Okay. And that's another learning experience in itself. The travel, the setup, you know, it's a bit of a daunting place when you first go America. So, yeah, he's got a very bright future in front of him.
And with the sort of the camp that you've had big stars, and you've got big stars like Kell, Bill Joe Saunders, but how much, as a trainer, how do you divide your attention to people like Willie Hutchinson, who's maybe not in the top 3 in your camp, but you know there's that big potential that he's going to be the world champion?
Probably the reason why we've had so much success in the past is because how the fighters get trained. And let's go through the fighters I train. We've got Liam Williams, we've got Kell, we've got Billy Joe Saunders, Nicola Adams, Willie Hutchinson, Kid Galahad, that's 6. So we've got at least 7 high-profile fighters. Yeah. Now, you know, I live across from the gym. There's 24 hours in a day, and these fighters train 2 sessions a day, and they might last 60 to 90 minutes. So they're training for 3 hours a day in total. So the sessions are split. They all get one-on-one training. Pad work is one-on-one. Sometimes it can be, you know, with 2 people in the pad session. The sparring. All their workouts are all planned. So they all get individual attention. But ideally, you know, they don't all need individual attention twice a day, because, you know, they might be body sparring in a group, they might be running together. You put them on a run together. You might have heard of the famous death run. You have to do that with somebody. You have to put yourself against somebody, and it's always better to be competing against somebody when you're training. So most of the times, maybe 50% of the time, you know, Billy Joe Saunders might be running with Kell, he might be doing pads with Kell, he might be sparring with Kell. So sometimes you pair them up, sometimes you don't, and every other day they get individual attention. So it's a very well planned out routine what they've got. And you know, what you've got to realise is that Billy Joe Saunders is 30, Kell Brook's 33, Willie Hutchinson is 21. He's the future. So there's plenty of time for him. That's where the development comes in, because they need the most work, actually. You know, Billy knows what he needs to do. Kell knows they've had the fights. They're very well adapted and experienced. So, you know, in order to keep the conveyor belt going, you've got to pay attention to these kids. And you can determine that by how keen he is to come into the gym. He's always the first one in. He's always messaging, what am I doing today? He wants to know. He's very keen. He's not one that you have to drag out of bed in the morning. He's already there. and he's keen to learn and get where he needs to be. He knows he's got to make money in boxing because he can't do anything else. You know, he comes from up in Scotland. There's nothing much happening up there. All he can do is box. That's the best thing he's good at. So I recognise that, you know, talent, and I'm going to develop it as much as I can because it's a benefit to me as well. So that's why you find the time. You can't expect these kids to come through on themselves and find their own way. He's only 21 years old.
Let's talk about Nicola Adams as well then. It seems like there's been big gaps in between when she's been fighting. Has that been frustrating for yourself as well as a trainer? Who, I don't know how it works as a trainer because I'm not a trainer, but is it always better to have a fighter that's constantly fighting as a trainer?
I think for her it's frustrating. For me, because I've got a lot of work on anyway, I'm never out of a training camp. Okay. So I'm always training, you know, training camps are always crossing over. I think it's been very frustrating for her because she had injury and then fighters fall through. And the girl she was supposed to fight for the world title actually was injured for a while, and the fight was on, the fight was off, then the fight was off and she got stripped. And then you had to wait for the process of somebody else stepping in. So it's probably been a very frustrating 12 months for Nicola because that's roughly what it's been. And she, you know, lost a bit of momentum. Luckily, she's always in the gym and keeps busy. You know, she's 36 now. She needs to get a move on. Maybe got another year, 2 years. She's got a lot of stuff going on outside of boxing. You know, media work is very popular. So, you know, she needs things to keep her in boxing. She needs that fear factor. She needs the challenges. And if she doesn't get them, I can see that she's probably not going to hang around for very long because she's achieved a lot. You know, double gold medalist, female world champion. You know, she's got good sponsors. She's been on lots of TV programmes. She's got lots of sponsorship. She's doing great.
What do you make of women's boxing so far? We've got the likes of Kate Taylor flying the flag. We've got Nicola Adams there, obviously. Clarissa Shields as well. What do you make of the progression of? It's only been a couple of years since it's really started to establish itself. What do you make of the progression?
You know, Clarissa Shields, I watch her. She's tough as out. You know, she beat fellas up. Kate Taylor, the same. Nicola, they're all good. And you know, you shouldn't say this really, but they fight like men, and that's what you want to. That's what you want to watch. And it's like when you watch a really good women's football team, they play like the guys. Imagine, you know, changing that the other way around and trying to put men into female-dominated sports. Would men do as well? Would they look as good? So, you know, I think they're doing really well. It's coming along. And I think the only problem is that because it's women, there's not that many women into boxing. There's not as many fighters around you can challenge yourself with. So that's the thing. I'd like to probably see more women coming in, but you know, they've got to be good women. They've got to be who can actually fight, not just be punch bags.
You know, hopefully this is the start of a run for Nicola Adams because it has been a long time. I want to talk about a fighter that has returned to yourself in Kell. Fight fans are asking what is going on because it seems to be a long time since we've seen Kell in the ring. There was names of the Crawford fight, obviously Amir Khan fights, always been mentioned. I think Eddie Hearn said that there's going to be talks, hopefully, in the coming weeks about that fight. Where are we with Kell at this present time?
You know, fight fans are always interested, but my main interest is always when somebody walks into the gym is the time frame to get them fit and ready for a fight. And you realise in this day and age, talk is cheap. There's lots of talk. You know, before the internet, everybody was kept in the dark, and you know, things were being said what never materialised. But now everybody can, you know, you can even message fighters now, and you know, make your fights. You can do all this kind of stuff. So the main thing is that he's been out for 12 months. He wasn't the best display last time out. He probably learnt himself a little lesson there. His bike, he only ever left the gym physically. In mind and spirit, he never did. He always knew where he came from. He'd been in that gym since he was 10 years old. So sometimes you do fancy a change, you know, and sometimes you need that break to make you realise where you want to be. He thought he was going a bit stale. There's other people in the gym. Sometimes that motivates people, sometimes it takes the edge off them. But he's back now, he's training hard, he seems focused and committed, and I think, you know, how Eddie's doing well in America and getting all these, you know, connections and stuff. I think Kell's thinking, yeah, there's big fights out there for me if I want to do it. So we'll see when I think he's going to be out in December. Don't know his boxing yet. His weight's good, he's getting fit, he's looking well in training, and hopefully he can have this fight and then be back. Really needs to be back early in the year.
I know I've asked you this so many times throughout the years, but is that Amir Khan fight still the fight that you guys want?
You know, I'm not really bothered about Amir Khan. Amir Khan seems to be doing very well as, you know, slinging himself into fights for a lot of money and getting knocked out. So if that's the, you know, the path he wants to take, you know, let him do it. That last fight he did wherever it was ridiculous, really. You know, that's like an obvious example of just ripping off whoever's sticking the money in. I mean, Billy Dib, how long had he been out for? Not even the same weight. You know, it's like just beating up a little kid. So, but if that's what it is, I'm not particularly bothered whether he fights Kell Brook. I think that's more Kell's concern, and if they can generate money out of it. So we'll see, whether it comes off or not. We'll see.
So I want to talk about two more of your fighters. First, Kid Galahad. We know he's obviously come off a loss to Josh Warrington, but it was a loss which gained him a lot of credit. It seems like his stock rose even though he lost, because the actual performance, a lot of fight fans online were giving him a lot of credit for that performance because they didn't see that coming possibly. You saw that coming, I know the team saw that coming, but a lot of fans might have not seen that coming. What's the latest with Kid Galahad, and when can we expect him to be in the upper echelon again?
As a boxing trainer, there's a phrase I like to use, and it's "don't believe the hype." And Josh Warrington hyped himself up on the back of the wins of Lee Selby and Cole Frampton, and he never boxed those fighters in the peak, and if he did, he'd never beat them. And I think we had all this talk before of Josh Warrington going on for bigger, better things in America and unification fights, and we don't need to box Kid Galahad because he's meaningless. But look at his fight now. He's not boxing in unification fights, and he never was. He probably never will. So I know what he's talking up, and he was talking a lot of rubbish. He didn't win that fight against Kid Galahad. People might say he did because he was the champion and everything else, but the numbers don't lie. He didn't land the shots. And Kid Galahad, nullified everything he had. He did what Lee Selby couldn't do, and he did what Cole Frampton couldn't do. So not everybody's always world champion on the first time of asking. He's got to regroup, come back. Hopefully, next few days we're going to get an announcement for a fight, and he'll be back in the mix, and we'll see where we take it from there.
Normally, or sometimes when a fighter does lose, especially at world level, that it can take him a lot of time to get back into that.
If you get beat up and you think you've lost the fight, maybe so. But when you think you've won the fight and you haven't got a mark on you, and you've come out with a lot of credibility, it just spurs you on. Think, right, next time I'll just, slight adjustments and I'll get it. It happened with Johnny Nelson. It happens with a lot of fighters. Not everybody can win a world title. Even happened to Steve Collins. First couple of world title fights he lost. He became champion eventually. So not everybody can be. So he's got time, and he's coming up for, I think he's 29 now. He needs the big fights in the next 2 years. So he's just said to Eddie, look, like, give me the fight, sling me in, see what I've got. And that's what you've got to do. You can't be a protected fighter. You've got to get into the backyards of people and beat them.
Just want to talk about one other fighter, Billy Joe Saunders. Looking online, we know he's fighting on the undercard of KSI and Logan Paul. People online are sort of mocking that, saying, he's a former world champion. He shouldn't be on the undercard of this sort of fight. But talk to me about that. Are people missing the point that it is such a big event?
Well, he's not a former world champion, is he? He is a world champion. So, listen, when Billy Joe Saunders gets into that ring, all Billy Joe Saunders will be thinking about is himself. And, the money he's getting and then getting the win and moving on, he'll be not interested in anybody else, because in his mind, he is the star of the show. People might have come to watch KSI and Logan, but by the time they leave, they'll probably be turned on to Billy Joe Saunders because he's a performer, natural entertainer, and they'll probably walk away and go, wow, that's what boxing's all about, if Billy boxes like he should do. So hopefully he will retain a lot of fans from that and get a bigger audience watching his fights, and obviously be more of an attraction in America.